data editor. This is the main screen that you see. It looks like a spreadsheet. You've got all the commands that we'll be using up here, and we'll look at each one of those as we need them. So we've opened a file called demo save. Now this is an example statistics file, SPSS file, and it contains records, a demonstration of records concerned with a series of customers who are being who are the subjects of a marketing campaign. So if we click on the bottom view here, we've got data view and variable view. So if we look at data view, here's the examples of the records, the data has been entered in from the customer service. So each one of these records is one person. So that's a subject in our data set. And each column is a variable about that person. Okay. So for instance, we know the age, each person will have an age, the marital status, what income they have, where do they reside, whether they own a fax machine or not. And this is the actual data that was manually entered into here when the survey was completed. And then we can go into variable view. So each one of those variables, so there's the variable called age. If we go into variable view, this is where the variables are originally set up. So somebody created a variable, this is a column heading or variable called age. It's of type numeric. There's different data types. So this is the data type numeric, comma, scientific notation, date, dollar, and string being a text. Then there's other minor details which aren't particularly important in SPSS, how many characters you're allowing, whether you're allowing decimal places. Then you can put in a label, a full label. So the name of the column is a short name that's used for the purposes of the column headings in SPSS. The full label is a proper sentence describing what the variable is, and that would be used when you generate charts and other kind of outputs. And then we're going to skip the next few, and then we'll look all the way over to here, and the next important column is measure, and that's something that we covered extensively in the presentation. How do we measure each variable? So every variable has a measure, and if you recall from the presentation, there were 4 different types of measures: nominal and ordinal for categorical data, and interval and ratio for numerical data. Now SPSS doesn't exactly provide the same categories. It only provides 3 types of measures: nominal, ordinal, and scale. So where in most statistical systems, numerical data can be divided into interval or ratio, in SPSS it can't. So we use scale for both of them. Anything that would normally be on the interval scale or the ratio scale, we just put it on the measure called scale. And you can see there's a little ruler. That means it's a proper number that you can apply mathematics to. And the categorical variables are either nominal or ordinal. Nominal being categories like country or hair color or sex, and ordinal being categories that can be ordered, like grade in an exam or rank in class. So we'll just briefly look at a couple of these variables here. While we're at that measure, we'll just look at this column called values. So SPSS has this particular property that you can set the allowed values for nominal categories. So for instance, age is a scale variable, which means it's just a regular number, so it can take any value from minus infinity to plus infinity. So there's none is in the values category for scalar variables. But for nominal variables can take different values. So your marital status can be either this or that. So in this case it can be it can be unmarried or married. So the value label section of SPSS allows us to describe the categories that we're going to use for our nominal variables. And it's typically in SPSS we don't just put a word in there like married or unmarried or M or U. We put in a number. So in SPSS stats, nearly everything is a number. So even categories like nominal variables, we put in numbers here and we give them a label. So if we take an example here, how did unmarried go in there? If we remove that, the way we put in unmarried, we decide that we're going to code 0 for unmarried, and we're going to put the label unmarried beside that. And that means that what we do in the column, we enter zeros and ones, and we use them all the time, but when we're generating output charts, the labels appear. And you can see the same also for here. Here's an example of a Likert scale, job satisfaction. So job satisfaction is a Likert scale type question. I'll give you an example here. So you answer, you're either highly dissatisfied with the job, somewhat dissatisfied, neutral, somewhat dissatisfied, up to highly satisfied. And this is an example of a Likert scale question, and it's obviously ordinal. That means there's a rank order. The higher you go in the number. And again, what we've actually see in the data is ones and fives, not words. So if we look, so we've used that coding system again. That's been manually entered to provide the categories. So if I look at job satisfaction in the data view, you can see it's all 1 to 5s. Now, if you look to the right here at the measures, you'll see that in fact the measures are incorrect. So this demo file is not complete. In other words, the proper measures haven't been assigned here, because job satisfaction is clearly a categorical variable. That means it's either nominal or ordinal, and because it's a Likert scale, let's rank order from 1 to 5, it must be ordinal. So that should be an ordinal value. So that's incorrect, and that's corrected now. So there's a number of columns, there's a number of variables here which have been left at scale, and they really should be at ordinal or nominal. And what I'd like you to do then is to identify at least one other variable, possibly two, and correct the measure for that variable.